So next up, this is Ted Nugent and the Amboy Dukes, and this is Survival of the Fittest Live.
Ted Nugent is your favorite band. Go check out NoLifeTillMetal.com. You'll see a lot of Ted Nugent.
Sweaty Teddy! The sweatier the bettier.
I just watched that video that you guys did.
Greeno and LJ.
LJ and Greeno,
yeah.
Cracking up. Funny stuff.
Anyhow, this is still the Amboy Dukes, sort of.
Yeah, it was.
This was Ted Nugent become the alpha male, which Ted Nugent is. Like him or love him, his sound here was definitely his own. His guitar tone was way heavy for '71, way heavy. And this album's nothing but an excuse to jam. There's no, I mean, that's just all there is to it. None of the songs on here that I remember. No, Prodigal Man. Prodigal Man came off of the third Amboy Dukes album. All the rest of these songs were not on any of the Amboy Dukes albums.
This was before or after Tooth, Fang, and Claw?
This was before.
Okay.
Just
was
before.
this one of the last Amboy Dukes before that?
Let's see, there was Call the Wild, Tooth, Fang, and Claw.
Marriage on the Rocks?
Marriage on the Rocks came right before this.
Okay.
So there you go.
So after this was Tooth, Fang, and Claw?
Correct. So, and like I said, none of these songs were released on any other studio records.
What about Migration and the studio, the self-titled?
Migration was the third album. Self-titled was the first album, and then Journey to the Center of the Mind was the second album.
That was the name of the album? Yes, you're right, it was. Okay. Yeah. I get confused with Amboy Dukes. I'm not super familiar with them, but yeah, I know this was a later one. And it's kind of funny because it's live and it's all new songs, almost.
Almost, except for Prodigal Man, which came off.
Kind of like another album that someone went on to make in, what was it, 1981?
Yep.
Intensities in 10 Cities.
Right.
Live album, all new songs.
Exactly.
I couldn't think of another album really that was like that, and I didn't realize that that's what this is until just now.
But I mean, if you didn't know the Amboy Dukes were becoming Ted Nugent, I mean, the cover ought to tell you right there. You go, this is, your alpha male cover. Like I said, there's only, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 songs on the whole album. We've got a 21-minute jam of Prodigal Son. You've got a 9-minute jam called Papa's Will. And you've got this just nasty opening called Survival of the Fittest. You know what my discovery of this record was? I was a huge Nugent fan, got into Double Live Gonzo and Cat Scratch Fever and all those records. And I ran it and I found a used copy of this cassette in a store and I brought it home like, yes, Nugent, I know who that guy is. And I put this on and I was like, that don't sound like Nugent.
I remember when I found out Journey to the Center of the Mind had Nugent on it.
Yeah.
Like, what? This was before I knew anything.
So yeah, but this doesn't sound like your Ted Nugent solo stuff necessarily, no. But it's definitely, it has a very 60s sound to it, even though it's 71.
I'm gonna put the music back on.
Sure. Pause. Break.
Oh, you don't have to. You can keep
That's
talking.
All right. We'll cut it. I'll cut it in.
Okay. Yeah, we're listening to the debut album by Bang, 1971.
So there you go. So we got Ted Nugent, Amboy Dukes, Survival of the Fittest. And I have about, not even kidding, like 4 or 5 different covers on this one, including ones that just have different color text.
Because he's one of those.
Yeah.
Like we all are.
But some that have very different covers. And I'm actually at Randy's house, so this is mostly his collection. It's all his collection, actually.
Yeah.
And so I don't have them here.
That's all right. Speaking of Bang, here we go. One of the greatest discoveries I've made in the past 10 years. Great unknown bands. Great band, though. Bang was a Florida band, if I'm not mistaken. They just kind of came out of nowhere. One second they were just playing in their basements. The next second they were on tour with like Deep Purple. And this is pretty good hard rock for 71. You can hear it in the background. Great band. They had an album prior to this that never saw the light of day until recently, called Death of a Country. Totally different songs, similar album cover. But if you get a chance to check this out, this is definitely their best.
Yeah, that's one I'm sorely missing from my vinyl collection.
It's great stuff.
Hard to find. Very hard to find on vinyl, unfortunately.
Yeah.
At least for a decent price.
And it is put out again. I mean, they've done reissues. I don't know if they've reissued the vinyl for this. They did do Death of a Country on vinyl.
I don't know. I've seen CD reissues, but I've never seen them. Well, maybe there is. I don't know.
Yeah, so there's definitely CD reissues.
If anybody's seen a vinyl reissue of Bang, let us know.
Yeah. And there's also, they've been on tour. They were on tour last year with Pentagram. So they're still active. They've put out a few albums the last few years. It's good stuff. Frank Ferrara is still the bass player and singer. The guitar player's name is Frank also. The only guy that's missing is the drummer, and I still think he's their manager possibly. Great band, another power trio too, and just kind of came out of nowhere. Very memorable, cool sounding stuff. Give it a shot, guys who are into the early hard rock, 70s, Sabbath, that kind of stuff.
Had we had our own top 5 list,
Oh yeah,
Randy said Bang would have been in his top 5
definitely
list.
would have been.
And had we not argued and fought about what was going to be the top 5 albums for 1971, this one.
He pulled all my beard out over here. See, look, all I got left is this. He pulled out all this beard.
This would have been on my my top 5 list. This is Uriah Heep. Look at yourself.
Look at yourself. And
I mean, we've already talked about.
we're missing. I've got like
You've got
cover.
like 3. Yeah, I just grabbed the 2 of them because.
This is probably the one that people are most familiar with. This is the USA cover, and it's got the mirror. You can see yourself in
here too.
You can see yourself in one side, but the eyes are always different. And I always thought the eyes looked creepy on all of them except this one. They're too far apart on this one. These were more believable. I don't know. Maybe the color scheme.
Yeah.
But it was always the same idea, just different executions of it. And I like this one.
And this is actually their 3rd album.
Yep.
I think it's a little heavier. I think
It is pretty
The
heavy.
first album was fairly heavy, I thought. Second album, which we just showed, a little more.
More
it was
progressive.
A little more progressive, and I think more the production was just more trebly, less.
Yeah.
Didn't have that heaviness that was returned back on this album right here.
Yeah.
And this album, to me, this is bombastic, progressive
It is.
metal.
And the title track, just
That's not
listen to
metal.
that. Yeah, just listen to the title track.
This was metal in 1971. I don't care what anybody says.
Whatever.
Yeah, listen to the title track, Tears in My Eyes, Shadow of Grief,
July Morning's a great one.
Love Machine. Again, this is all Ken Hensley's writing mostly.
Yep. This is the classic lineup. Well, except for the bass player.
But you still had Mick Box.
Yeah, Mick Box is there. David
Byron.
Byron
Yep.
on
Byron
vocals.
on
Ken
vocals.
Hensley.
And it was that play between Hensley and Box that gave Uriah Heep their sound.
Yeah. And the drummer and the bass player were not around on the next one, which was Demons and Wizards, right?
Right, which I think is a great
That's the
album, too.
classic lineup. We had Gary Thane come in for bass on that one, and the drummer, it wasn't Lee Kearslake yet. Maybe it was the same guy. Might have still been Ian Clark.
I can't remember.
Great
But,
band.
of
Another
course,
just great overlooked
Hensley
band.
went on to be with Blackfoot after this.
He did a lot of solo. Did a lot of solo work too.
Yeah. So anyhow, there you go.
Yeah.
Would have been in my top 5.
Excellent album.
Definitely competes with Deep Purple as with that sound.
Yeah.
With some of my favorite music from the early 70s.
Yeah. I mean, most people know Easy Living, right? Or maybe The Wizard.
Yeah, The Wizard's pretty popular.
Yeah, but really, the rest of their catalog's pretty cool. Later stuff was kind of hit and miss. Same kind of problem that Nazareth ran into, I think. But you just got to dig. It depends how bad you want it, I guess.
Yep.
I love this album.
So do I. Again, we're
This is
gonna argue
another
about how-
band. Another band, though. The first couple albums is like, what the?
Trying to find their sound. Another band I discovered when they were a bit heavier went backwards, and then we went to UFO, and you're like, what the?
What was this? Now, I had to get the very first UFO album. I think we talked about it maybe last time for 70. Kind of boogie, kind of bluesy.
Very bluesy. Yep.
But they were ones that were trying to follow in the footsteps of Hawkwind with the whole space rock thing.
And
Well, they did
exactly,
it here. They did it on this one.
That is exactly what this sounds like.
Yeah. There's all of side. What is it? I thought that flying. Oh, I guess okay. Flying is the long track on here. It's like 26
Yeah,
minutes
it's almost
long.
half an hour long by itself.
It's almost the entire side. It's got a short track. With
Yeah,
it.
the coming of Prince Kajuku.
The Silverbird and Starstorm, my favorite cuts off here, and it's kind of like krautrock. It's very much along the lines of the Hawkwind, so it's a different UFO. This is not Lights Out in London UFO. This is not even.
No.
It's completely different. So
It's
if
not
that's what
metal
you're looking
at
for,
all. Yeah.
you won't like this at all.
It's not first wave of British metal.
Yeah. Once I changed my kind of perspective on it and I approached it from more of the space rock, krautrock kind of thing, I loved it. I totally loved it. But
Same thing with like Lizzie, like we said earlier.
Yep.
Scorpion's another one.
oh yeah, Scorpions totally.
Nugent, another one. So
Yep.
You go backwards, you're like, what happened here?
Yeah, but I mean, for people who are just really into music, and I love the roots and origins of things,
Yep.
you got to have it really, and original cover is so cool. It's got this weirdo pink alien guy with talons
Floating out of the clouds with being followed by spaceships.
Yeah, or something. And this one just kind of boring, but
And I have there's actually another one that I'm missing from my collection. The only UFO record I'm missing from most of the 70s and 80s stuff. Actually, all the 70s and 80s stuff I have, except for this one.
You don't have this?
No, I have it on CD. I have the first album.
No, you don't even have this version?
Nope, don't have either one of them.
No kidding. You know, there's a version of Flying that I don't have that was only a Japanese promo. It's got a picture of a spaceship on it and like people coming out of it, and it's called UFO 2.
I've got a really cool Japanese pressing on CD, but I don't have the vinyl yet. So.
Yeah.
But anyhow, so now we're up to our. We should
not quite there.
Oh, that's right.
I still have 2.
Oh, well, that's good. We just did 2 of our own mine, so.
We
That's
did?
right. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So this one will be the last one I do.
Sure.
All right. This one. Yeah, there's stories about this one.
Yep. One of these has the.
This is the one.
Well, before we start.
All right. Alice Cooper, Love It to Death. Alice Cooper had 2 albums out in '71.
Right.
Back when bands used to work that way. I mean, in the early '70s, you could have 2 or 3 albums from one band in a year.
Yep.
Which is like, wow.
And then they had 2 albums just before this one.
Right. So, Love It to Death is where Alice Cooper started discovering their sound. They had 2 albums prior. That's kind of been the theme today.
And I'd say started discovering their sound.
Yeah.
Because
it wasn't quite there yet, but they had their first huge hit on.
There's a little bit of both on here.
It's true. Yep. You're right.
Like Black Juju?
Black Juju definitely harkens from the earlier stuff.
But I love that song.
Yep. And I would also say even Sunrise does too.
Yep, Sunrise. Yep, exactly.
But the big hit on here obviously was 18.
Right.
Huge hit.
But then also...
Bob Ezrin did this one too, didn't
correct.
he?
It's My Body and Caught in a Dream, also fairly well known.
Yep. My favorite cut off of this one, Ballad of Dwight Fry. Probably because
the most underrated Alice Cooper song ever.
Oh yeah, Ballad of Dwight. I've seen him twice. The first time I ever saw him was in '96. I know, late. He played Ballad of Dwight Fry. I shit my pants. I was happy, and then I went home.
Of course, we can't talk about this album without talking about the dreaded
infamous thumb. I can't get too close because Scott said it gets glary, but if you see it, and I know the people who know it. Alice's thumb is right there, and the way that it's positioned, it looks like it could be something that's not his thumb, down in the his crotch area.
His penis.
It looks like it could be his penis.
But so they blacked it out to this version,
which looks ridiculous.
I mean, whatever.
I mean, you can't tell.
No.
I mean, that's how inconsequential
it's just
it was.
ridiculous that
You
they took
can't
it
even
out.
tell. Now, the front cover, aside from all the controversy, okay, it's a cool shot of the early Alice Cooper group. The back cover is the friggin' best shot of the group ever. Was there more of a badass picture of a bunch of long hairs in a rock and roll band in the '70s than this?
I always love this.
No!
I always love the center spread too with the spider eyes.
Yes, it's awesome.
Wicked.
There is a version. There's a Mexican version that has this as the front cover that I'm still looking for, and it's actually called not "Love It to Death," but in Spanish. I can't think of it.
Yeah.
Amor de Mujeres or something like that. Good album, really classic. If you don't know it, the second side kind of goes into. It kind of has a concept feel to it. Second Coming, Ballad of Dwight Fry, and Sunrise kind of run together, and they're kind of connected.
I wouldn't call it progressive at all. Just
no, a little bit of conceptual
maybe just
thing going on.
Conceptual, yeah. A little bit of a storyline going on in it. But
Bob Ezrin was present, so you know how it goes with him.
And this is another one that Randy really wanted to be in his top 5.
I did.
But we couldn't leave any of the ones that we have in the top 5 out.
Yeah,
so.
we couldn't bump any of them. And this was a band I got into much later. Again, Atomic Rooster. Just like Wishbone Ash, I got into them late. The way I discovered Atomic Rooster was I was already into Emerson, Lake and Palmer. I had heard that Carl Palmer had done some time in a band called Atomic Rooster. I'd never heard him. I looked him up one day on Amazon.com. It happened to be the same exact day that I released my first Troglodyte Dawn album, which had the same picture that they used on their Death Walks Behind You album, which was the William Blake's Nebuchadnezzar.
Yeah.
So this was their third album. Arguably, it's probably my favorite. The songwriting on here is so strong. We got Breakthrough, Break the Ice, Decision, Indecision. Spoonful of Bromide Helps the Pulse Rate Go Down is a very frenetic instrumental. Devil's Answer was a single, great song. Black Snake was Vincent Crane, the founder of the band, keyboardsman extraordinaire, sang on that one. Head in the Sky is a killer song. Every song on here is familiar and great. It's an awesome, awesome album. It's got a lady with an old-fashioned hearing aid, and On the front, it's like, well, it's called In Hearing of Atomic Rooster. On the back, you can tell, oops, she heard them and she got scared and she's running away and she's very, very offended by what she heard.
Kind of like some people watching our videos.
Yeah, something like that. So, Atomic Rooster, a lot of prog elements. No bass player because Vincent Crane had the heaviest left hand in all of the ivory-based musicians.
Much like the Doors.
Yeah, no bass player. His bass lines were so heavy they didn't need one. So John McCain on guitar and I can't remember the drummer. This Atomic Rooster, the one thing that they have that bums me out is Vincent Crane and the drummer, whose name was Paul something, I believe. They both killed themselves. So 2 suicides in this band. Another band that had a similar story was Badfinger. 2 members of Badfinger also committed suicide, which always, it never sits quite right with me.
Yeah.
And it's always something I think about whenever I listen to albums.
All right, so up next will be our top 5. Top 5. How many?
1, 2, 3,
5.
4, 5.
5. All right, so
I've got 5 fingers, 5 toes.
all right, 5. Top 5. Here we go.
This top 5 is brought to you by the number 5.
And the letters A,
And?
B, and Z.
And T and O and P, but not as frontmen like keyboardsmen for Black Sabbath are off to the side.
Right. Exactly. Good. Come back here.
What the hell was that?
I don't know. Okay.
5.
5. Top
Starting
5.
with number
Number 5.
Alice Cooper Group's second offering in 1971, back when bands worked harder than believable.
Yep.
With today's standards, I guess.
Maybe it's
Killer.
Because there was no internet, maybe?
Could be.
No, could be.
Because the bands now are just spending all their time
But
on
how
the
did you steal
internet.
music then?
Well,
Walk into a record store?
bootleggers
Oh,
would
yeah.
make their live, back then bootlegging was killing music apparently. There's always something been killing music.
Yes. I think it was the Shoplifters.
Yeah. That one, crack it open because we got some fun. This was the first this was the Alice Cooper album that dragged me right into.
This is the album that got it for me too. This album, this is where they had the Alice Cooper sound that went through the rest of the '70s and even into Alice's Cooper when he became a solo artist.
The most controversial stuff, the most recognizable, the stuff that brought forth all of the presentation of the live show. Really, the seeds of it are all right here on this album. The Snake, Alice bringing the Snake out on stage with them came from here. The Gallows, because of the song. What was it? It was it Halo of Flies? Or was it was Killer?
Killer, yeah.
It was Killer when they would hang
Alice,
Alice.
yeah.
Would hang him.
And this also has the song "Dead Babies" on there, which was super duper controversial.
Oh
at
man,
the
for
time.
1971, a song about dead babies. And I mean, as usual, the witch hunters jumped the gun.
Yep.
And if you really listen to it, the babies are dead because the parents were neglecting them.
Right.
And it was kind of a what's the word? Indictment of society in the way that parents were starting to have more 2-income homes, so parents were working more than they had previously in Leave It to Beaver days. And that's what it was about. It's like, we didn't want you anyway, so who cares if you died? That kind of a thing. And, it's really, anyone who's going to display the ugliest of truths is going to be hated.
And he's still doing it.
And he's still doing it, really.
He's still doing the same thing.
He still is.
And
this
is we got 2 different pressings here. This is the first pressing. This is later pressing.
Reissue.
So the difference in the covers is the back cover.
This cover is included in that one. There's
Correct.
a secondary back cover, and this one has a green back cover because it came with
a calendar.
another very early insert. One of the ones that I can never remember how to open it either.
I just didn't want to drop the record out because I felt it. I got the record here. You can hit the cover.
So
it's on the early green. It's the ugliest color green.
Yeah, that olive green. Although that's
green.
Stone Groove green right there.
Yeah.
There's the secondary back cover because the green one, if you were a total freak, why can't this open? Why is this stuck together? Oh my gosh, it's stuck together.
There you go.
I didn't do it. We got Alice, 1971 calendar, hanging
from the gallows,
from the noose in the gallows. So how awesome, how offensive. Parents probably found that at the time. And why is this got sticky crap all over it? There's nothing here worth getting sticky over.
I don't know. I don't want to know.
Hey, that's between me and
Yeah, exactly.
top 5.
Anyhow, what's some of the songs on here? I mean,
jeez, dude.
It's Under My Wheels. Or
yeah, the whole thing. It's kick-ass. Under My Wheels, Be My Lover.
There you go.
Halo of Flies. Halo of Flies. Wow.
And that's what never was a popular song,
but creepy as hell. Desperado, which was really an ode to Jim Morrison. Drive Me Nervous. Yeah. Dead Babies, like we said in Killer.
Yeah.
It's a great album. Front to back, it just satisfies, it delivers, whatever. This is great. Where are we at now? Number 4?
We are at number 4.
Yep.
And this was
you mentioned it. Deep Purple.
Yep. Fireball.
This was the album.
This is
before Machine Head or after?
Oh, you know what? I'm gonna mix them up.
I always
It's
do.
gotta be before.
All right.
It's gotta be before, right? Okay, if we're wrong, I'm sure let us know.
It's either before or after Machine Head. I want to say Machine Head was 72.
I'm thinking it's 72 as well.
All right. So Fireball, though, we already had a powerhouse coming from in rock.
Right.
Really, and we had Child in Time, we had Speed King. It was just like, okay, Deep Purple's heavy. They're not messing around.
And their heaviness came from, besides Richie Blackmore's guitar, it was also those organs.
Yep. John Lord's organs. And Ian Pace was another powerhouse drummer, really.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he was more, instead of a stomp drummer like John Bonham, he was like a rolling all over the place kind of drummer.
But if you want to talk about powerhouses in Deep Purple,
Ian Gillan. Oh yeah.
I mean, he's one of my personal favorite metal singers ever.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved him in Purple, I loved him in Gillan, I loved him in Black Sabbath. Everything he's done is
great singer.
Even when he was doing the Ian Gillan band stuff and he was doing that more.
Did you love him in Jesus Christ Superstar though?
Yeah, I did.
I did too.
He had the hair for it.
We had the US version here and we had the UK version here, and while you can't tell the difference in the covers, there's a different track on here.
Yes,
UK had one of my favorite Deep Purple tracks, Demon's Eye, and instead this one had
Strange Kind of Woman.
Yeah, both great songs.
And Strange Kind of Woman was a single, I believe, it became a hit, which is why they included it on the US and as a way to kind of push the
Same
record.
thing Sabbath did with Evil Woman and Wicked World on their first album in '70.
So anyhow,
Deep Purple, Fireball, what a killer cover too. I mean, they put out some cool looking covers as well.
Yes, there's just nothing bad about this album.
No,
not a single song on here. And I love the raw, heavy, nasty production that this thing has.
Yeah, it's a great album for sure.
I mean, really. Other than Sabbath, can you really name anything that was quite this heavy in '71?
Very few.
Yeah,
very few.
So
awesome. All right, so we are up to number 3.
Number 3.
One of my favorite albums of all time. It's another one of those ones that it's good front to back.
And one of those ones people are going to argue. Oh no, they can't argue this one.
Hey, they even got a Grammy for it in '89. Jethro Tull, Aqualung. Once again, if you don't think Jethro Tull were heavy, let's strip away everything that came out post 1971. You've never heard it before. Listen to this album, especially Aqualung. I mean, that's a classic riff, almost as classic as friggin' Iron Man.
And that's one of those songs you cannot turn on FM radio for more than half an hour and not hear.
We also have, what was the one? Hymn 43. Huge riff in that one. I mean, it's just, what we got here, I mean, I could go on about this freaking album forever because I remember I got it for 25 cents at a garage sale at my neighbor's house. I put it on, I was like, yes, Aqualung. I love this song. Well, then I let it keep playing, and every song was better than the last one. There's not a song on here I don't love. This has got all of Tull's heaviness. It's got all of Tull's acoustic, beautiful, melodic type tracks. And it's got lyrics that are just, I mean, they're so intelligent. They're intelligent lyrics, and I don't know what, I mean, they're firmly in the prog rock camp.
Right, but it's also, even though it's a prog rock, it's also got that heavy blues mixed in.
Oh yeah.
And a bit of folk.
Yep, for sure. I mean, Jethro Tull is arguably one of, almost a perfect band, because what they do it so well, and nobody else does it like them.
Yep.
Nobody.
Does this have a gatefold too?
Yep, it does, and there's a lyric sheet in there. This is one of the albums in the '70s that each side had a name. The first side was called Aqualung. The second side was called My God. Oh, the song My God. Holy crap!
I always like the gatefold.
Yeah, it's cool, and it's neat because they've always depicted. I mean, the guy in the front, who obviously is Aqualung, it looks like it's Ian Anderson. And Jethro Tull was a band that I always loved about them is they started out old. They didn't start out young and sexy and try to ride that horse for the rest of their lives. They started out old, they got older, they still looked the same.
Wait, you mean Jethro Tull's not the name of the band, the musicians?
Jethro Tull, I love that guy.
Yeah, that guy's awesome.
Jethro Tull was an agriculture figure in the 16th or 17th century, and Ian Anderson is heavily into agriculture and farming, and that's where he got it from. He invented something. Jethro Tull invented some piece of. He either did some work with cross-pollination of seeds, or he created some piece of farm equipment. That's his claim to fame, and now he's immortalized.
In one of the greatest rock and roll bands ever.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right, so next album, I was kind of surprised because when Randy and I were battling back and forth as to what we were going to put in the top 5 and in this 25 list at all, my number 1 pick was this one, and I was shocked that it wasn't his.
And because I'm like, this is like my favorite band of all time, but I couldn't justify putting this as number 1. I just couldn't.
And his reasoning for doing number 1, I couldn't argue with, but this is Black Sabbath, Masters of Reality.
Masters of Reality. I got the U.S. version here. This is the original UK on the Vertigo label, which comes in like a box.
Oh, yeah, it's like an oversized record. Yeah.
Came with the original poster, which is featured here on this one that is a Japanese copy. I think it's Japanese anyway. For years, I'd never seen this poster. Now I have one framed, sitting, hanging in my bathroom.
I have a framed copy that I have not framed, but I have a copy of my album too.
Yeah, and I think I got an extra one in a couple of these that I wanted to have one that wasn't used as well.
And this one is this looks like, I don't know. Is this the thinness of the paper makes me think it's like I don't
it's
know.
on Phonogram. Oh, this is the one with the orange. There were so many different colors of this. I got one that's all rainbow colors.
I'm not even kidding when I say this is these 4 copies we're showing you are
It's like maybe half of
what, yeah, less than half. How many copies he has of this album?
Oh, this is Brazil.
Enough about the cover.
This is Brazil.
Yeah, that's very.
The other one that I have that has probably more different covers is Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. I have like 6 or 7 different covers for that friggin' album all over the world. And some of them are really neat.
But you can't. There's just no way anybody can argue anything was heavier than this. Heavier than this in 1971? No way.
No.
Sweet Leaf, After Forever, Children of the Grave.
Yeah.
I mean, the riffs were just. This is riff driven. There's no doubt about it.
And I mean, Tony Iommi is unique in that way.
But then you've got, then you get all this heavy stuff, Into the Void, Lord of the Sword, all heavy stuff. You got Ozzy's very unique, ghostly vocals. But then right in the mix of it all, you got Embryo.
Yeah, which Embryo is like this plucked thing that he's doing all these octaves in.
Which could have been, it literally could have been on a Yes album. You know what I mean? It's just.
And a lot of the stuff that they were doing on here was kind of harkening back to classical music. I mean, Tony Iommi was very into flamenco guitar and classical guitar. That's why you would hear pieces like Orchid. You would hear like little solo guitar numbers on each of their albums. And they would also name the different sections of their songs. And the thing that's cool about this one is, unless you got an earlier printings, you missed out on a lot of their titles. Like on Paranoid, they were printed right on the album. You had War Pigs, which the intro to War Pigs. Wait a minute. The outro to War Pigs is called Luke's Wall. They named that instrumental part. The intro to Fairies Wear Boots was called Jack the Stripper. Well, oh shoot, it's not on this one. Hold on. This is just little tidbits that I just gotta include. Unless you got the original, like Warner Brothers on the green label, you missed a lot of the extra song titles.
Right, because they're only on the label itself. Yeah.
Right. So After Forever, which is track number 2, that intro and the outro of that kind of mellotron thing that's kind of drony, it's called the Elegy. Which an elegy is kind of like, it's like words spoken at a funeral, kind of like a eulogy. It's similar. Yeah. Then we got Embryo, we got Children of the Grave. Well, the outro to Children of the Grave with all that ghosty sounding stuff is called The Haunting. Then on the back side, Orchid, and then we've got, yeah.
I got it stuck in my head.
On the second side, we've got Orchid opens it up. Then we got Lord of this World. Well, the intro to Lord of this World is called Step Up. Just that little instrumental part that introduces it. And then we get Solitude. Then we get Into the Void. Well, the instrumental intro to Into the Void is called Death Mask. I never knew about those until like almost 20 years after this album came out. And, with Sabbath, discovering new stuff, it's just like, cool. Just anything like that, I'm really into it. There's the poster.
Yeah, there's the poster. And like I said, they are Randy's favorite band, so I was kind of surprised he didn't pick them as number 1, because it was my number 1 pick, because it's just really, when it comes to hard and heavy, there ain't nothing hard harder or heavier than that, especially in '71.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. And
there was another video we did that we put something as number one that we didn't necessarily agree was either our favorite or was necessarily the best.
Our favorite, but it just deserved to be up there for its stature.
Was it Back in Black?
I think it was Back in Black. Yeah.
It was just we could not put it not at number one. If that's what it was, I can't quite remember.
I think it was 1980, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just was like we just couldn't for something.
So, same thing with this one. We both decided, yep, this album's monumental. How many bands have copied and tried to sound like this band over the years? And one song in particular is just...
Yeah, and a signature album for any band at any time. This is probably the one that you're gonna...
Led Zeppelin.
Untitled, technically.
Under so many different names.
Yeah, it's I mean, the four symbols are supposed to be it, but if you look at it, the original release, I don't even think it has it on this one.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, there's nothing on here to indicate that it's Led Zeppelin. And that's how Jimmy Page wanted it. He wanted the album and the music to sell itself. He didn't want to have the Zeppelin name on it, other than those cryptic four symbols that they all developed for themselves. That's technically the name of the album.
And it became known as Zoso because of the one symbol, which was
for Jimmy Page, which who knows what the hell it is.
It looks like a Z-O-S-O, yeah. But
yeah. But Led Zeppelin IV is probably the most common one.
Yep. Well, and that's probably his fourth record.
Yeah.
Fourth album. So yeah.
And the first three were 1, 2, and 3, so it makes sense.
And then it's got this epic inside.
Yep. Which from tarot cards, that's called the Hermit. The name of the painting is the Hermit, but there's also a tarot card that has this figure on it, and that's what it's based on.
But then, of course, the song that we're talking about that's monumental and Stairway to Heaven.
Stairway to Heaven. Here I've got the reissue that came out last year, which has the bonus disc in it. It's got the same gatefold, and it's also got an extra stuff. It's got another disc full of outtakes from those sessions, which some of them are just unbelievably neat.
I mean, not to get off subject, but my favorite of those Zeppelin reissues is Zeppelin 1. That live material they put on the deck bonuses is awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That aside, I mean, of course, there's more than one song in here.
The whole thing. There's nothing, like we were talking about the different.
There's your cymbals.
Yep. The different sounds. They've got the heavy stuff on here. They got the Black Dog.
Yep.
Rock and Roll is a hard driving 4 sticks. I just read. And When the Levee Breaks, another super heavy Zeppelin blues bass riff. But 4 Sticks, interesting thing I heard about it is it's written in a weird timing, and Jimmy Page would come up with stuff that would throw John Bonham off because it didn't make sense. It was something that he had to feel his way through, and 4 Sticks was that way. And it was written after some kind of traditional Indian, I think they call it's either called a raga. It's some kind of traditional Indian sounding. Indian nut feather.
Then you had stuff that was totally different.
Yeah, completely. But that one was meant to sound in that particular way, and John Bonham one day just powered through it after a couple of beers and got it because they almost ditched this song. Which can you imagine 4 Sticks not being there?
Going to California, very different. The Battle of Evermore.
Battle of Evermore's killer. I mean, such a folksy song, and they've got Sandy Denny from Fairport Convention singing on it, who was a huge folk star at the time.
I mean, you could almost release this album as a greatest hits by itself.
You could.
I mean, maybe 4 Sticks would be the only one on here that
it's probably the deepest of the cuts.
Yeah, that's probably might be the only song on here you won't hear on radio ever. But
and I mean, for me, 7th grade was when I started really getting into this album, and how many school dances ended with Stairway to Heaven? And if you didn't have someone to dance with for Stairway to Heaven, loser!
I always thought it was odd that the insert only had lyrics for one song on it.
Yep. In this picture, I don't know what that is. But Robert Plant was pretty adept at writing some pretty intense lyrics by this point, for sure.
Yep. And they've been accused of robbing some of the riffs from other bands, but
that had been going on since the beginning, really.
But you know what? There's only so many notes you can play. Everybody's ripping off everybody else ever since. So.
And Zeppelin has been sued before, and they were found culpable for like the old blues guys. They didn't give any credit to the stuff they took directly from like Willie Dixon,
right?
And Big Bill Brunsey and all those guys, Sonny Boy Williamson. They got their asses sued, and now you look on the records, the credits are all there now.
Yep. But it doesn't really take away from the legacy.
Hell no.
You couldn't go to a party in the 70s or 80s.
Even now, it's like, who doesn't like Led Zeppelin? I mean, If you don't like them, you either have never heard of or heard them,
Yeah,
or you're just being a prick about something.
maybe you're just not into rock and roll. Maybe. I don't know.
Just
But yeah.
you'd rather raise goats.
And I had this one in my top 5 list, but it just wasn't number 1. But
I suggested we make it number 1 because of the friggin' impact and the game changer that it really was. I mean, it's historic.
But you know what? It is heavy in a different way. Sabbath's heaviness was in Tony Iommi's pounding riffs,
Yep.
whereas Zeppelin's heaviness was in the bottom end with
John Bonham
John
and
Bonham and
John
John Paul Jones. Thank you. It was that rhythm section. That's where their heaviness came from.
Yeah, because Jimmy Page's guitar playing much more loose and kind of all over the place.
Yep.
Tony's was much more like
Yep, driving riff, machine gun almost like, you know. Whereas I always thought that Page was kind of sloppy, but that's not
part of his style.
That's not an insult. Not
No.
saying not a bad thing. It's just his style.
He used to call the band loosely tight. They had a certain framework that they worked in, but they were all over the place within that framework.
And that's the human element that you get in music that is sorely missing in a lot of music these days. Yep.
Totally.
So anyhow, there it is. Number 1, Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Big shocker, I know.
1971.
There's a 1971 video. I hope you dug it.
Yeah, because it's been a few months since we did the last one.
Yes. And several people asked, when are you guys going to get together and do another one? Well, here we are doing another one.
Right now.
Next
because we were even talking about going back and redoing some of the
We
other
are going
ones
to redo some of the other ones. Yes, we
so
are.
you may have those.
We're going to redo some of the 70s ones that I did on my own.
Together.
First of all, because I found more music since then.
And
that I
because
like.
we love each other so much.
But anyhow,
Hey!
check out. Oh, there's a square.
Again?
Check out Randy's label and his radio
Stone
show,
Groove
Stone
Records.
Groove Records. He has a brand new website that he just opened up.
StoneGrooveRecords.net.
There you go.
Can get to. I got a lot of irons in the fire. I got a lot of fingers in a lot of different pies. You can get to all of them from that one site now. So it's really easy to navigate. Please go check it out. I'll know if you went or not because I have one of those old-fashioned counters on there. So if you don't go, I'll know.
It'll still
you
say-
only watch these because you like Scott. You
It'll-
don't like me.
It'll have still only 3 on there.
Oh, great.
That'll make him sad. So anyhow, that's it for us. Hope you enjoyed it. Thumbs up if you did. Liked it.
Yeah.
Thumbs down if you didn't. Go ahead and leave a comment below. We both will like talking to you guys, and that's it.
Yeah, man.
God
Yeah,
bless.
it's always fun.
Stay strong.
Peace, man.